Welcome to the Head Shepherd Podcast. I'm your host, Mark Ferguson, CEO here at NextGen Agri International, where we help livestock managers get the best out of their stock. Before we get started, thank you to our two fantastic sponsors for continuing to sponsor this podcast. MSD Animal Health is perhaps better known as Cooper's Animal Health in Australia and for their Allflex range across the world, with a comprehensive suite of animal health and management products. Honiger is a one-stop shop for wool harvesting and animal fibre removal. The Honiger team have a deep understanding of livestock agriculture, backed by Swiss engineering and a family business dedicated to manufacturing the best. We are grateful to our sponsors for their support, helping us bring Head Shepherd to you each week. And now it's time to get on with this week's episode. G'day and welcome to the Head Shepherd Podcast. You're with Ferg. Great to have you listening along. Thank you very much for all of your loyal support out there. Been out and about a fair bit lately and really do appreciate catching up with those people that come up and say g'day and tell me they enjoy the show. Keeps the fire in our bellies burning. Sophie and I both really enjoy that. To be honest, we've been flat out at NextGen Agri at sale season in New Zealand, which means lots of travel, lots of up and down the road, pretty busy, and a struggle to get people lined up to interview while I'm on the move all the time. And so rather than giving you crap audio quality, I thought we'd just record again a few thoughts from me today. And then we've got some great guests lined up coming up in the next few weeks. So don't worry, we're not going to keep doing this to you in 2025. We will get to our interview style, but I think, every now and again it's good to stop and just talk to the mic and provide my thoughts. We'll love the feedback if jump on the hub and have a look and put any comments in there. Happy to have that chat or email me directly or get in touch. We really do love being part of the community, not just sitting here shouting down your speakers. So this week on the hub we've got Sophie's written an article on yard design. She had some great chats with people. Jason Schultz was really helpful and really passionate about yard design, so she had a good time talking to him and getting some thoughts from him. And also thanks to all those people that contributed to Sophie's thoughts. And so a great article there on the hub. Definitely recommend people jumping in the hub and having a look around. It's becoming a great resource for all sorts of information. There's an article goes out every week. It's not just me and Sophie these days. We've got everyone from the team contributing, which is fantastic. We really have got a highly talented team across Australia and New Zealand now. And it's great to have everyone contributing some of those articles. So I recommend jumping on the hub.nextgenagri.com, have a look around, or jump on nextgenagri.com and sign up to our newsletter, which will give you great links to all those things. This week on the show, I want to talk about preparation. As you get to around sales seasons, you start to see a few things and hear a few things about what's going on out there. And it's something, a bit of a bugbear of mine, that we've got some stud breeders that like to mask what those animals actually look like a bit. And I guess a bit of a plea to the industry to start to really think about how we present animals as they are, and give the buyers the best opportunity to see the faults, see the opportunities in those animals. They're all got great. A lot of animals these days got good data on them, so we can see all sorts of things inside the animal, and it's good if we can assess some of the things that the data doesn't tell us in the animal itself. And that can be a little bit difficult if things like foot trimming have gone on, and that's probably my favourite pet hate is foot trimming, and and something we see a fair bit. Not so much in New Zealand, but definitely across Australian sales and stuff where feet have been trimmed pre-sale. And it makes it really, really difficult to work out which ones are actually going to grow a long foot. And I think we need to be, as an industry, we need to get real about that and start supporting those people that put them up. Maybe it's a slightly longer toe in the sale, but if it hasn't been trimmed, it's probably better than one that has been trimmed that was longer than that again before it was trimmed. So I guess a few things on that. And one thing is that we kind of get what we pay for in a way. The more we support breeders who put animals in sheds, feed them up, keep the water off them so the wool looks great, trim their feet, then the more we end up. That's what breeders will do because that's where they get their money. So I think we've created a bit of a rod for our own back as an industry. With our ram breeding sector has responded to market signals, and I don't think they've always been the right ones to respond to. I think there's great opportunities going forward to really tidy up how we do some of this in the industry. And I think, foot trimming is one of those things that we need to really move away from. And I guess we're a little bit passionate about feet. I spent all day yesterday on a conveyor trimming some feet, actually just helping one of our clients just working through a bit of a program to reduce the incidence of foot rot. So it was more of an inspection trim, but but it always does remind you of what you've got to deal with, particularly in merino sheep, but also other breeds as well. A lot of issues we see in shedding breeds these days. We're seeing some pretty high price rams getting around and that have been trimmed or have got some less desirable feet and that sort of thing across all breeds. And it does really concern me, because we know when we get out on farm we're going to be seeing those ewes with big long toes and foot problems. It's far from ideal, and it obviously starts at the genetic angle. We often probably maybe forget about that this is a genetic thing. Obviously, conditions do blow it out more in some. So wet conditions or conditions which have got a bit more, a few more lurgies lying around, a few more benign foot rot or real foot rot, you can conducive to a bit more toe growth, or softer sands, clays, stuff where you're not getting much wear. We do see a lot of toe growth. So sometimes breeders aren't doing this to be deceptive. They just don't have toe growth on their farms and therefore don't get to express it. Other times it's being trimmed and really hard for people to work out what is good in, what is bad on feet. What we do know now from all the work we've done, so we've probably scored that's the Royal We, that's the team across Australia and New Zealand. We've scored in excess of 10,000 animals now for the structural traits that we set up in our structural guide. Started back in New Zealand Merino days and started with the CPT there, and we've followed that through, scoring sort of a few different angles of the foot, in addition to foot rot and scald and the actual disease, but foot shape itself. We've scored that a lot. And every time we do that, we see that there's sire differences. So obviously under genetic control. We haven't got that data properly analysed yet, but we're getting to that within the Foot Health Project, where we're scoring them across a range of, in addition to the stuff we've already done, but we're also doing it with that AWI and Animal Health Australia work on feet health. And I think that's going to really set us up as an industry to not have to do things like foot trimming for rams, because we'll have breeding values on those foot structural traits. And I would highly recommend anyone that is out there listening as a ram breeder and is interested in improving feet to get in touch with the team at Amy Lockwood's leading that project, or Georgia Buckles is good to talk to as well. She's certainly on the ground in Victoria working on that stuff. But there's good opportunities to be involved in that work. If you're a merino ram breeder in Australia, there's good opportunities to get involved in that work, start getting your progeny scored up, because we do know once you start, like everything, once you start measuring something, it moves. If you start assessing it in the ewes and the rams, and before they come important, before they come in for that sale prep, maybe we can see these big variations in these animals, and by scoring it, and as we move towards a breeding value, hopefully, which is certainly our aim, is we'll end up in a position as an industry in maybe 10, 15, 20 years' time where there is no need to trim commercial sheep or sale sheep or any sheep, because we've actually improved them, those feet genetically. We know if we look across breeds, some breeds have more problems than others, and that's really just either recent or historic selection pressure. All breeds have feet problems. We're not pretending any don't, but certainly some are more prone to than others, and particularly as animals come into maybe environments that they haven't really evolved in or been selected under for a long time, feet become a problem, and certainly something that we've become increasingly passionate about. But yeah, I think the Feet Health Project in Aussie is really setting us up to learn a lot of stuff that, and moving on from the work that we did here in New Zealand, which really set us up around the foot rot aspect of that, and moving that through to some foot shape stuff as well as scald and other things. So yeah, I guess the point of this podcast was to talk about encouraging your ram breeders not to trim feet, to see them how they are, and not be the person that then goes along to that ram sale and not buy them because they're not as perfect in the feet as you'd expect. You kind of got to reward your breeder for doing it the way you asked them to do, and continue to buy them. I think if we all bought perfect footed rams, there wouldn't be enough to go around. I'm pretty confident of that. So it's going to be an evolution, like all these things. As we start scoring new things and assessing new things, it takes a while for us to work out where the good ones are going to come from. I think historically, as we've kept trimming stuff, most of us don't really know the variation that exists, because everything's kind of been trimmed, and often they've been on I guess fed up for sale. So kind of there's a bit of reason why it might have grown extra toe, but often always in those mobs there'll be some sheep that have perfect feet and some that had pretty terrible feet. You can make the terrible ones look pretty good by trimming, but I guess it's the genetics of that we're really interested in. The other thing I want to talk about was how well animals are prepared for sale. I think there's a nice happy medium there somewhere. Some I'm not that worried about people presenting them underdone for sale. If they've been running commercially, that gives people a great indication of what they've done, and the breeding values tell you the rest. What I guess I think particularly around bulls, we seem to be hell-bent on pushing them to extreme weights at young ages to make them look amazing at sale. You've really got to question the merit of that as an industry. We see a lot of bull breakdowns these days, and it's got to be hard on animals when tendons are still developing, bones are still developing, and we're putting them out to weights that really are quite extreme. I think as an industry, we've probably overcooked that a bit, and to some extent, some terminal rams are the same. Some rams are generally across the industry. We're seeing animals pushed really heavy, and they look amazing on sale day, and so do those bulls. But I guess as an industry, we have to think, well, is this actually what we want? Do we want to have our bulls eating really, really good high energy diets, and same with our rams, and then to make them look amazing on sale day, and then encouraging breakdowns essentially because the tendons haven't developed and stuff. And so if that bull had gone out at 150 kilos lighter out onto the farm, obviously going to get heavy eventually. But yeah, I think if we give them time to mature before they get heavy, I think that's not a bad idea. But unfortunately, the industry as it is now, both the weight of the ram or the weight of the sale bull will determine kind of how proud you are to bring that animal home and so how hard you'll bid for it. A lot of advisors out there, a lot of stock agents out there encouraging you to go and buy those better looking bulls or those better looking rams. But we know that what they take home is just the genes that are swinging between the legs. They're just a mobile delivery system for genes, those bulls and rams. So really what they look like on day in terms of their nutrition is not anything to do with what's going to happen at home. And I think as an industry, we just feed everything to the point of ridiculous generally. And I think that's doing a couple of big disservices. One, it's expensive. It costs bull breeders, ram breeders a lot of money, a lot of lost potential on those farms to get animals like overly cooked. And then equally, yeah, I think we're hiding a lot of some of the traits we really want to see in animals. An animal that's fattened naturally without being pushed is something that often is something we'd be after, and we want that to happen in our cows and our ewes. And so a bull that is naturally fleshed and has fattened without being necessarily pushed is something we want to see, but we're not going to see that if they've all been fed to the max. We're just not going to find those individual animals at all. So, yeah, I think as an industry, we just really a bit of a rethink about why we're masking some of the attributes of bulls and rams, and I think it's going to take some brave people out there to present them as they would economically, as they would if there was a commercial operation and you had to pay for and you do have to pay for every kilo of dry matter, and really think about, well, why would we have these animals 30 or 40% higher body weight than they actually need to be to do their job, just so they look good on sale day? And again, I think we all have to take responsibility for this. It's the bull buyer, the ram buyer that doesn't turn up next year because the bulls are a bit underdone or the rams are a bit underdone, whereas in reality, that has nothing to do with their genes. I guess the final bugbear on preparation would be shedding rams in Australia, so protecting the wool from moisture, so animals come out of the shed or stay in the shed so they're not getting rain on them. What we know that some of those genotypes, we bring them to high rainfall areas or bring them out of that shed, stick them under normal rainfall conditions, particularly where you get a bit of summer rain and all of a sudden we've got colour coming everywhere and fleece rot and that sort of stuff that a ram buyer is just not going to see because those wools have been protected from that moisture. And again, while we reward beautiful white crimpy wools, if we're getting beautiful white crimpy wools because they're not actually seeing any rainfall, then that's not actually that helpful. And we've seen time and time again where those animals have come out of that environment, gone onto farm, lost a heap of body weight, wool's gone yellow, and they've actually turned out to be a really bad genetic decision. We have got some tools in place now to, I guess, safeguard against that. We can look at the wool colour breeding value and the fleece rot breeding value for those that have got it. So even if they are shedded and they look white and amazing, if we look at those breeding values, we can actually tell whether it's genetic whiteness or it's just a nutritional and environmental control. And so we have got a couple of tools, but really we should be beyond putting animals in sheds to get them up for sale. If you want to show a few animals and you're going to put them in sheds to do that, that's up to you. But those sale animals really should be out there running in paddocks. That's where their daughters and sons are going to be. And I think we need to do the best we can by our ram and bull buyers by making sure we're presenting animals in good condition without being crazy about it. And anyway, that's what I wanted to cover today. It's a bit of a personal bugbear of mine, but I do think as an industry we have to, these welfare traits and just animals that can function in the environment without excess support or without a farmer having to really struggle to keep them healthy is something we need to really work on. The cost price squeeze is real, and there's a lot of people double checking budgets this year and having to rebuy or buy more bulls because a few extras broken down, or to replace rams that really should have got 4 or 5 years out of but have got colour or have gone really bad in the feet. That sort of stuff is generally costing the industry a lot of money across all the incidents that occurs, and I think it can be avoided by having an industry that really encourages breeders to present them as they are with their faults, and rather than try and mask all those faults through environmental management, put them as they are, and as an industry brave enough to work out which ones have the faults that they can put up with, because there's no such thing as a perfect sheep, and go forth and use those animals as what we need to do. And again, the more we've got breeding values that help us make informed decisions around these traits, the better we'll go. So if we can get those foot structural breeding values out, the same as they're in Angus cattle, that's really going to help us a lot. The wool trait stuff is already there in terms of visuals, so there's some really cool things that we can do as an industry to mean that we don't need to mask stuff. We don't need to try and hide genetics because we actually have breeding values around that. And so it doesn't matter if you trim a foot, because if it's already got a foot-shaped breeding value, then we know what it's going to do anyway. So it can be trimmed for sale day if you want, but the reality, the breeding value will tell you the story, which will be an industry that I really want to be part of. Righto, that's my rant for today. We'll be back with an interview next week and a normal episode of Head Shepherd. I hope something in there has been of value. I really would appreciate some feedback on how you think the industry should roll. There'll be people out there that might take offence to these thoughts, but that's not meant to be offensive. It's just trying to encourage an industry where we can all put our best foot forward, pardon the pun, and have an industry where we don't need to trim feet. We're not trimming feet. We're not preparing animals for sale. We're just running them in good commercial conditions, and people are willing to turn up and buy them in that condition because they know what they could get. They know when they take them home, they're going to be happy with them, and they're going to move on and produce ewes and wethers that they can be proud of. Righto, signing off for now. Thanks very much for listening. We'll talk soon. Cheers. Thanks again to Heinegger, who are proud world leaders in the manufacturing and supply of professional sheep shearing and clipping equipment. Thank you to MNSD Animal Health and Allflex Livestock Intelligence. They offer an extensive livestock product portfolio focused on animal health management, all backed up by exceptional service. We thank both of these companies for their ongoing support of the Head Shepherd podcast.